In a royal palace, in an unknown land, a king waits impatiently, trotting around the room in an air of anxiety. The Chancellor attempts to comfort the king and he begins to sit on the throne, and suddenly bursting through is Sancho, the king's attendant. He exclaims that King Pancras is now a father. With pure excitement, he rushes to his wife in her chambers and sees his newborn son, a lively baby boy that they decide to name Luca. Despite the king's pushback, he is too overjoyed to have been blessed by the good Lord with a son. Although, in their celebration, Martha comes down with a sudden cough, which is drowned by Luca's infant screams. Suddenly, a young boy wakes up, greeted by his father. The boy was dreaming he was a baby in a castle, and his father, Pancras, laughs at such a childlike dream. Luca and his father are on a ship travelling across the world. His father is a highly esteemed man who's helped the captain out many times. The boat they're currently on board belongs to a Mr. Ludman. They don't usually take passengers, but an exception was made for Lord Pancras. Although Luca may be too young to understand, he's told by crewmates that he should listen to his father to become a fine man, and he has much respect for raising Luca without a mother present. After a long voyage, the ship ports up to land and is joyfully greeted by a Mr. Ludman. It's been over 2 years since Pancras called this place home, but Luca is too young to remember. Mr. Ludman introduces his daughter, Flora, a shy young girl who's just a bit too small to climb on board. Pancras and Luca get back to dry land after a long journey. Pancras is immediately recognised and is greeted with joy, for he has been gone for so long. Luca's handed a mysterious map by his father and goes to play in the corner while grown-up talk is discussed. Being a bored child, Luca began smashing barrels, found 10 gold coins, and wandered away from the port, where he was attacked by 3 slimes. Pancras rushed to find his lost child and came to the rescue. The wild is too dangerous for Luca to wander off alone, so he stays close to his father and they travel across the land. Luca discovers incredible monsters and watches his father bravely defeat them. After a days-long journey, the two arrive in the town of Wilbrook. The entire town is ecstatic Pancras has returned after 2 years, glad he is still alive, but also shocked how much his son has grown. He is overcrowded with joy, most of all from his trusty attendant, Sancho. They enter their home, and rushing down the stairs is a small girl, Bianca. She is the daughter of Pancras' long pal Duncan. From the town of Alcapa, Bianca and her mother are in Wilbrook on a quick stop to pick up Duncan's medicine. As the adults catch up, the 2 children head upstairs and play together. Luca says he remembers Bianca from 2 years ago, although that's unlikely, since now he is 6 years old and she is 8. Bianca grabs a book from the top shelf, a place Luca can't reach, and reads him a story. Attempting to show off her reading skills, she just about manages to pronounce the words, but quits for being too difficult. Bianca and her mother now return to the inn for the night. Pancras too has to go out for a while, so Luca plays in the basement and heads to bed. The next morning, Luca catches his father before he heads out again, and Sancho reminisces of Luca's mother, Martha, as he resembles her so greatly. Luca runs after his father and catches him following the stream into a cave. Luca quickly forgets this and plays around Wilbrook, constantly reminded by the villagers that as long as he stays with his strong and reliable father, everything will be okay. In the local shop, a man says his friend has gone missing and he's panicking as he's been sent off to find herbs and hasn't returned. Luca is bored without his father around, or anyone to play with, so he remembers where his father went and goes in search of him. Deep in the caves, Luca fights like his father, despite being so small, and finds a man trapped under some rocks. He helps the man break free. He also finds something peculiar. He found a slime that was not a bad slime. he in fact told Luca some advice. Here, Luca learned that not all monsters are bad monsters, and being kind to others, no matter who they are or what they look like, is a good thing. Luca was lost in the cave and decided to return back home. Little did he know, the man he saved was the man sent from the local shop to collect herbs for Duncan's medicine, and they began grinding the herbs overnight, ready to be collected the next morning. Bianca came by the house to say goodbyes with her mother, except the journey west is too dangerous for two women alone. So, Pancras escorts them with Luca tagging along. Once they arrive, they rush to Duncan's side to give him the medicine. Luca and Bianca get bored, so they walk around town. They hear so much that entertains their childlike wonder. They hear of a place, a long time ago, called Upton Towers, which was home to a beautiful king and queen. Sadly, the two couldn't have children and the royal line ended, leaving the castle vacant. But even to this day, a horrible wailing can be heard every single night from Upton Towers. They find two bullies that are tormenting a helpless saber cub. Bianca became furious and yelled at them. The bullies said they would only stop if the two kids would free Upton Towers of the ghosts that occupy it. The bullies are bigger than Luca and Bianca, so they had no choice but to get rid of the ghosts. As ambitious, naive and childish as that quest may sound, there was no doubt in Luca nor Bianca's mind. They was determined to save this saber cub. They bought new weapons and gear from the item shop and head out on their quest, but they couldn't get past the gate. The guard would not allow such small, frail children to pass on their own. Duncan got all better thanks to his medicine. Pancras and Luca are ready to head home but are stopped by Duncan's wife, pleading for them to stay the night. And it was in the middle of the night that Luca was woken up by Bianca. Although Luca forgot, Bianca couldn't stop thinking about that poor cub. So, they snuck out to go to Upton Towers and discover the secrets of the ghosts. As they arrived, the dark night turned stormy, and lightning struck ever so often. All the doors were rusted shut with age, but they found a spiral staircase in the rear of the castle, taking them up to the roof. But as they entered, they was locked inside. The coffins rumbled, and emerging from within were ghostly skeletons that kidnapped Bianca. Within the castle, Luca was stalked by moving statues that his small frail body could not even scratch. He was in a tough battle, and he fainted. He found himself enclosed in a dark chamber and felt something atop his head. He moved it and found himself inside of a grave at the top of the castle. Luca tried reading the gravestones. They read, "Here lies Luca" and "Here lies Bianca," although he was not old enough to read. And suddenly, he heard Bianca's voice coming from the other grave and pushed it with all of his might. They did not understand what had happened, but they pushed on regardless. They discovered the spirit of the queen. She looked at the children calmly and closed her eyes as she faded away, and a secret passage had opened. Birds flocked from inside the castle halls, and the kids found the spirit of Queen Sophia. She distastefully tells the story of how all inhabitants of the castle was murdered by demons 10 years ago. It's rumoured that these same fiends are known to kidnap children from around the world. King Eric and Queen Sophia, they never had any children, and the demons killed everyone out of spite. The king and queen want their spirits put to rest and begs the children to drive the ghosts out of the castle, or else they will be left to dance around their accursed ball for all eternity. One floor of the castle had lost all reflection of light that it already scarcely had. The children could only navigate through the halls and avoid violent ghosts with the flickers of lightning. They chase after the ghost of King Eric and look down on the monsters who occupy the castle, as well as the lost spirits doomed to dance for eternity. King Eric praises the children's tenacity and begs them to rid the castle of the ghost's ringleader, who currently sits on the throne of the 4th floor. It surrounds itself with ghouls from the demon world. The kids find a holy torch in the basement and a scholarly spirit who claims Grandmaster Nimzo wishes to conquer the world. The torch lights up the darkness in the room with a blue glowing tint, and they reach the throne room. The ghost's leader wants to use them as special ingredients for tonight's meal and drops them down 5 floors into the basement, where they land on tonight's main course. The demons force the chef's spirit to season the live children to create the perfect dish. The demons cheer in such a delicious meal that's been waiting for them, and the children have no choice but to fight the demons away. The kids escaped with a few demon bite marks and head for the Ghostmaster. They trap him on the balcony of the castle's 4th floor and fight him dead on. The children nearly was killed by the Ghostmaster, but in a turn of fate, together, the small children was able to free the spirits of the castle and defeat him. The Ghostmaster begs and pleads to be let live, since they were forced out of Nideria a long time ago. He and the demons only wanted a place to live. The children decide to let the demons live, and they left the castle to find a new home in peace. King Eric and Queen Sophia's spirits can finally rest in peace, and together they take their leave from this world to live forever in happiness. Bianca notices a pretty jewel on the Queen's gravestone. It must be a reward for their hard work, so they pocket the glowing gold orb and head back home. The news that Luca and Bianca had defeated the monsters of Upton Towers spread that very same night. And then the sun rose. First thing in the morning, Bianca and Luca head to those bullies and save the kitty from its torment. The bullies, hearing of the news, handed it over peacefully. The two kids discuss in length what to call their new kitty, and they fly through a very long list of names, and ultimately they decide on Peach, a whimsical name for their pet. It is time for Luca and Pancras to return back to Wilbrook, and they take Peach with them. In her goodbyes, Bianca hands him a ribbon, just in case they don't get to see each other for a while. A ribbon they put on Peach, and they vow to have another adventure someday. Pancras expresses pride in Luca for clearing out all of those ghouls, but also admonishes him for putting himself in such danger at only 6 years old. Together, now with Peach, they return back to Wilbrook. Luca, now strong enough to join his father in battles against monsters on their travels. Upon returning to Wilbrook, Sancho hands Pancras a letter and sends Luca to bed. The next morning, Pancras has important work to attend to, but he can do this at home, so Luca can't leave the village. Sancho is as cheerful as ever, except today he seems to have lost his chopping board. Luca and Peach frolic around the village and find a strange man who inquired regarding this mysterious gem. He asks Luca to come closer to take a quick look. Luca hands it over, unsuspicious. This man appreciates the fine quality of the gem and hands it back to Luca, expressing how thoughtful his father must be to give such a gem to his son. This man turns oddly serious. He says, "Little boy, no matter what life brings you, never, ever give up." But Luca moves on with his day, confused about strange man. He finds more strange things happening in the village. A woman has cooked an entire pot of stew that's just disappeared. She blames her granddad, although he denies any association with such claims. The village is currently in a cold spell. The villagers struggle to stay warm and the crops are scarce. The agriculture in Wilbrook is slow this time of year, even though it's supposed to be summer. An old man recognized Luca to be Pancras' son and shares a secret. There's a rumor that Pancras has a very powerful enemy. If only Luca was older, he might be able to help his father. As Luca brushes off what that old man said, he wanders into the local bar and spots a strange girl a girl he could almost see through. The girl is overjoyed that somebody is able to see her, and she tells Luca to meet him in his basement later on. So when Luca's done playing, he heads to his basement and she greets him as Bella of the elfin kind. She says her kingdom is in great peril and she's travelled to the human realm in search of help, but not a soul alive has been able to see her, all except Luca. She even attempted pulling a bunch of silly pranks to get someone's attention. Right then, Pancras comes down to the basement, confused that he's hearing voices, but notices it's just Luca talking to himself. He urges Luca to come back up to get warm since the basement is oh too cold. But instead, Bella invites Luca to come with her to the fairy realm and speak to Lady Powen. Right then, a magical, whimsical staircase appears in front of Luca's very eyes. Filled with wonder and curiosity, he walked up each glowing step until he saw himself inside of the fairy village, although it seemed withered away in such cold. He follows Bella up toward the throne room, where Lady Bowen was awaiting a human saviour. She did not expect such a cute little knight though. She welcomes Luca to the fairy village and wonders of his unique power that allows him to see the fairies. She has a request for Luca, however. One of the fairy kingdom's most valued treasures, the spring flute, was stolen. If it isn't returned, the world will never again see springtime blossom and will stay in a state of everlasting cold. Luca bravely accepts this quest and partners with Bella on this journey. They learn from the scholars of the fairy village of the thieves' location in the winter country. They're held up in a castle called the Ice Palace. The fairies are not strong enough to wield a sword or commence battle, which is why they need a human knight to do their bidding. Unfortunately, the entrance to the palace has been securely locked with an ancient key. Tensions seem to be high around the fairy village. They believe Lady Powen is too naive to think of a world where fairies, humans, and monsters could live together. The fairies have a strong distaste for humans. Luca notices that there are in fact humans and monsters residing in this very village, but he was too young to understand why this was such a big deal. So, the three head out and travel across the fairy kingdom up north toward the ice castle and find the rumours of it being locked was true. So, they explored the land and find a thieves' den in the southwest. Inside was a man banished from the fairy kingdom, saying it was Zale who did it, and Lady Powen is not to blame. He shares a lock-picking secret with Luca, saying it lays in a treasure chest at the very bottom of this cave, and begs Luca to get Zale's life back on track. He lives in this den with a slime who also claims it was Zale who stole the fairy flute. Zale, not the slime. Deep within the cave, Luca saw that the man was telling the truth and found a scroll titled The Secret of Lockpicking, and after reading it, it evaporates in his very hands. Now, Luca is prepared to return to the ice castle. Upon his arrival, he's trapped with a puzzling room. The floor is too slippery to simply walk through, so he must solve the puzzle and find a way to glide in the right direction. At the top of the castle chambers, Luca confronts Zale. He claims that Powen is a villain who banished his grandpa from the fairy village, so in anger he stole the flute and plans to deal with Luca so nobody can ever know. Together, Luca, Peach and Bella fight this hoodlum to the brink of collapse, but manage to topple over his strength and take back the flute. Right here, Bella confides in Zale, revealing the truth that Lady Powen never banished his grandpa. It was the Snow Queen. Suddenly, a gush of icy wind blasts around the throne and the Snow Queen appears, revealing her success in manipulating the child, and she must clean up his mess. Just then, she transforms into a terrible monster and charges toward the group. The battle with Zale had already weakened the group and tired them out, and this fight was pushing them to their last legs. The Snow Queen seemed invincible, with the power to heal consecutively and appear almost unfazed. But together, this monster, this fairy girl, and a peculiar little boy mustered the power to overthrow the Snow Queen once and for all, shattering her to 1,000 pieces of broken ice. So, the gang now return to the fairy village with the spring flute and great news. Spring can finally blossom in the world. The fairies are so ever grateful for Luca, and they make a promise to him at any time in the future. When he grows up, if he's ever in trouble, he should return to the fairy kingdom and Lady Poen will gladly come to his assistance. Luca will remember this key moment in his childhood, never to forget the fairies. As Bella says her final goodbyes, she passes him a withered branch which will bloom when spring comes around. Poen raises the spring flute to her lips and plays a beautiful, magical tune. As Luca returns home, Sancho was in worry. He was urgently searching for him. There's been a summon from Coberg Castle for Lord Pancras. He's already on his way since Luca couldn't be found. If he hurries, he could catch up to his father. Before he exits the door, Sancho notices a famous cherry tree branch in his pocket and decides to arrange it in the little master's room for him. Fortunately, Pancras was still in town, and the two reunited within the church. Pancras was offering a quick prayer to God before he set out on his journeys and suggests that Luca do the same. Once prayers have been made, the father and son joyfully set out on their journey to Coberg Castle. This trip will be relatively small compared to their ocean-bound journey, and when they return, Pancras promises to make it up to Luca since he's been so lonely until now. Luca is so much stronger now and sees deeper of his father's strength. He watches his father with such pride and admiration. The two pass through an underground tunnel to avoid a large river, but stop quickly to appreciate the beautiful scenery. Luca hops on his father's back and sees the world around him. Pancras shares this moment with an old man who's pondering the future of his kingdom as he watches the river flow, wishing to be left alone. And soon they arrive at Coberg on urgent matters. Pancras meets with the king. He has a private favour to ask of Lord Pancras, one so important he urges the guards to grant them privacy. Luca too, being bored, left to explore the castle. He hears from two castle guards that perhaps Lord Pancras is here to help settle Prince Harry's odd temper, and that Lord Pancras seems familiar from somewhere far, far away from the humble village of Wilbrook. Luca minds his own business and accidentally walks into Prince Harry's quarters, who instantly scolds him. When realizing he is the son of Lord Pancras, he forces him to become his lackey and continues to scold him with a brutish tone. The other castle royals are concerned for his behaviour and live in worry for the future of their kingdom when he is to become king. Harry does in fact have a younger brother, from a different mother of course. Harry's mother died and his father promptly remarried. There is the new queen and the Prince Dale. The queen believes, and heavily insists, her son should be the heir to the throne, although Dale himself shares none of this desire. The guards have mixed feelings in their confusion of royal affairs as of late. The queen seems to be meeting with various unsavoury characters. There's been much discussion of the heir to the throne, although the king is live and well, and more rumours have been spread of children being kidnapped. Pancras has been asked by the king to keep a close eye on Prince Harry, except Harry has taken a strong disliking to him, so he asks Luca to buddy up with Harry and become friends while Pancras stands guard to protect his chambers. Harry loves his pranks and has terrified other people in the castle, especially those who have a distaste for frogs. Harry says that for Luca to become his official lackey, he must find the official lackey badge in the next room over. However, the chest was empty, and when he returned, Harry was missing. In a confused panic, Luca rushes to Pancras, who investigates, only to find Harry safe and sound within his room. Once again, Harry pulls the very same prank, disappearing when Luca turns away, then scolding both Luca and Pancras. And well, he does this a third time, except Luca does not want to get into any more trouble, so he investigates and finds a secret passage under the chair of the room. He follows it down and catches Harry in the prank. although he's still committing to the old bit of trying to convince Luca to turn away and find the... Suddenly, two men enter, barging Luca away, and they beat Prince Harry to the ground, escaping with his unconscious body. Luca watches them escape and rushes through the peaceful castle, unaware the prince, the heir to the throne, has been kidnapped. When Pancras discovers this, he wants it to be kept secret. Pancras had rushed to a nearby cave where he recently heard rumours of peculiar monsters residing, but he was too quick for Luca's infant legs and got left behind. Luca found the cave on his own and saw his father confronting monsters. Luca tried his best to make his way through his temple's passages, and he found a room with 3 large men, the kidnappers, who kidnapped the prince by orders of the queen to kill him. Although they believe the job is just as good to sell the child into slavery and earn some extra cash, Luca may not understand all that's going on here, but he rushes to his father's side and watches him defeat these ghastly monsters. Pancras is shocked that Luca was able to catch up to him. He finally notices, in this very moment, that his son has become stronger. His son is following in his footsteps, and he expresses just how proud he is of his son. Together, they venture deeper into the temple in search of Prince Harry. They follow small streams of water to the prison cells and find the prince locked away. Pancras' sheer strength and anger broke down the iron bars, and he confined with the prince, who has suddenly lost his interest in being a prince. He suddenly lost all hopes of being heir to the throne and wishes that his younger brother would take it instead. Pancras confronts Harry's childish and thoughtless words, giving him a stern discipline. Right here, they get trapped by ghastly ghouls that Pancras holds off while Luca and Harry escape. They run as fast as they can out of the temple with no looking back. The light shining from the exit of the cave went dim. Waiting in front of it, a strange being prepares to punish the naughty children. The Bishop Laja commences his attack on the helpless infants, who can barely even scratch this monster and his evil powers. First, it was Harry, then it was Peach, and finally, Luca. One by one, Laja had disposed of the children as if they were mere insects. Pancras bursts into the scene boldly, with Laja standing above the children as their bodies barely grasp onto life, perhaps moments away from death. Laja is here for Pancras. He's been popping off his pawns one by one as of late, causing a disturbance in their business. Pancras has a vague memory of Laja from somewhere. He struggles to remember where he recognizes this devilish being. Laja, however, did not forget, and commences his sermon of brilliance, summoning to him the followers of light, Con the Knight and Slon the Rook, the 2 strongest of Laja's loyal army, who were not even enough to faze the mighty Pancras, who quickly discarded the beings in his furious rage. Such a bold display entertains Laja, as he laughed in Pancras' distraught, disturbed face. He reached out to the ground and lifted Luca, pulling a scythe to his throat, ever so curious what might happen next. Such a shocking act leaves Pancras stunned, feeling trapped in a corner with nowhere to turn, no actions to take, or else his son, his only son, will die. Laja commands Pancras to sheath his sword, or else this child he cares for so deeply will suffer for an eternity in hell. An idea that Laja finds ever so humorous. Con and Slon pick themselves back up and beat down Pancras to every bloody pulp they could. He did not resist. He took each and every punch, each and every hard blunt of their swings from their mighty weapons, every ounce of their magic, like a stoic hero. Even when beaten down to the ground, he does not give up hope. He must say something, even if they may be his last words. He does not know if Luca can hear him. He does not know if Luca can understand, but he speaks to his son. With his dying breath, he says, your mother is still alive. You must find her, and... All that has transpired here in this temple, all events that have taken place, is merely entertainment for Larger. He laughs away at Pancraz's untimely death, finding humour in the spectacle of a father's love for his son, a son who will live the rest of his life working for his dear leader, working the rest of his days as a slave. Con and Lon are ordered to throw away Peach into the wilderness, for the saber cub will grow one day and return to its feral state. And right here, Larger notices a jewel on Luca's body, curious if this jewel could be it. Something ever so peculiar he's been searching for, but no matter, he takes care of the orb and crushes it into dust.